Where are you trying to apply something you think should be happening, some template you learned about how relationships are supposed to work from the outside, and you're sure, like, if your partner would just follow this script, you're trying your hardest to do what you think you're supposed to be doing as a husband, as a boyfriend, as a father, and if your partner would just get it together and follow this script this template that you've inherited, everything would be great. And all of that needs to be dismantled. Craft something that has never been seen in the world. Just to take you as an example, there is no one on the planet like you. There's no one on the planet like Serenity, and there is no relationship that's like yours. So a lot of it is unlearning, dismantling the built-in assumptions and just saying, who are you as a person? What are we going to co-create? What are we going to craft together that fits us so we can really be ourselves and have a great relationship while we're being more ourselves rather than a closer match to the template.
Mm. Yeah. So yeah, ironically, I asked you for a formula. What's the one thing we can all do and it'll work? And you're saying actually the worst thing you can do is think that there's a formula and try to apply a formula. You are listening to Dedicated Joe, the new dad's guide on the upending and transformational experience of becoming a father. Today, I'm so excited to have on the show me and Serenity's relationship coach, Ken Blackman. We've worked with this guy for over 10 years. He has 25 years of experience working with men and couples. Serenity and I would just not have the relationship or the business we have today without him. We may not have either, in fact, without him. So really, really wealth of knowledge on how to really grow relationships beyond that initial honeymoon phase for the long term to get better and better. Let's check him out. All right. Ken Blackman, good to have you. We've known each other a long time.
Great to be here.
Long time.
Indeed.
We've been on this journey. One of the first men's relationship experts that I found and consulted and part of various education programs. And then when we needed a relationship coach, somebody said, Ken Blackman's doing that. I was like, really? You think he would coach us? I don't know. He's pretty big, high level. And they're like, yeah, I'm sure, like have a session, see what he thinks. And I thought there's no way. So we had a little sample session. I think it was like 2016 maybe, and was like, there's no way he's gonna do it. And I thought Serenity was like, I'll try it, but I don't think I'm gonna do it. I'm like, I think he's gonna be great. Serenity's like, I don't think so. And then we do the call and we find out what you offer and what it costs and all that. And I was like, there's no way we can do that. And Serenity's like, we've got to do this. And you've been our coach ever since, through thick and thin, and truly would not have the marriage and business we have without you. I'm not sure we'd have either at all without you. Like, I'm not sure the marriage or the business would have made it. It certainly wouldn't be as good as it is. Certainly wouldn't have been as fulfilling and the model of both that it is. But I'm not sure we would have made it without you. So really grateful for you.
Happy to have served you, and you guys have used me so well. Like, who you've become along the way and the difficult, unmovable mountains that you guys have managed to move. I can't take credit for that. You guys have used me well, and to great result. So
it's true. So let's back up. How did you get into this? How'd you become a men's sexuality relationship coach? What's the origin of that?
So I was a software engineer at Apple in the 80s and 90s. And most of my life was pretty good. I mean, I made good money. I had friends. I had a social life of other male nerdy computer geeks like me, and we did stuff that we liked. I had no idea how to relate with women at all. Like, I was terrible at it on multiple levels. Like, I occasionally a woman would be interested in me and I wouldn't know how to relate with her. Like, I just wasn't good at it. So I needed to learn. And so originally it was just purely for myself. Like, how am I going to be able to have healthy, fulfilling relationship with a woman? And that journey changed me so deeply. Like oh my God, the stuff that I did, that some of it worked, some of it didn't. Like it was a journey, right? Like everyone who's on a path like this. But how that changed me personally, what I learned about myself, how I grew as a human being, and my ability to actually relate with a woman was so life changing that I was like, oh, this is the work I want to do for other people so they can experience what I've experienced. And so I left my career in Silicon Valley and just have been doing this full time now for, I'm in my 25th year, 26th year now. So
Whoa. So we've been with you almost half of that then. That's sort of fun. We've like been
yeah,
part of half that journey.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, your y'all's journey is a whole story unto itself. I'm sure we'll touch on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have you learned? What are some of the secrets to healthy relationships? Just tell us everybody how they can just have what we have overnight.
You know, it, it's a hard question to answer, but not for the reason that you're hinting at. It's not because like I have a storehouse of modalities, of lived experience, of wisdom, of ways that I coach that are different from anyone else. All of that exists. The reason that the question is hard to answer is because I tailor everything so closely to where people are at, what they're struggling with, that it's hard to give a blanket answer to that. I think I like a running theme is going to be where do I like the single biggest thing is where are you trying to apply something you think should be happening, some template you learned about how relationships are supposed to work from the outside, and you're sure, like, if your partner would just follow this script, you're trying your hardest to do what you think you're supposed to be doing as a husband, as a boyfriend, as a father, and if your partner would just get it together and follow this script this template that you've inherited, everything would be great. And all of that needs to be dismantled. Like what you need to actually craft something that has never been seen in the world, because you're a unique human being. People are infinitely complex. And like, just to take you as an example, there is no one on the planet like you. There's no one on the planet like Serenity, and there is no relationship that's like yours. So a lot of it is unlearning, like dismantling the built-in assumptions and just saying, who are you as a person? What are we going to co-create? What are we going to craft together that fits us so we can really be ourselves and have a great relationship while we're being more ourselves rather than a closer match to the template.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, ironically, I asked you for a formula. What's the one thing we can all do and it'll work? And you're saying actually the worst thing you can do is think that there's a formula
Yeah,
and try to
yeah.
apply a formula. Yes.
Well said. And that, yeah, like y'all are unique human beings. I'm speaking to the audience. You guys are unique, and what you can create that is tailored to you, like the problem isn't you, the problem isn't your partner, the problem is the template that you're trying to apply that doesn't fit you. And
Hmm.
when you create the template in partnership with your partner, you can be more yourself and have a better relationship than you've got.
Where
So
do these formulas, these templates, these false expectations, where do they come from? They come from our parents, or what our friends tell us, or what we see on TV? Like, what are some of
all of it,
the wrong messages? Yeah.
society. And what's funny is, like, we're in this weird time where, I mean, it's been true for a while, where you hear the statistics of divorce. Like, there's actually a lot of information from the world now telling us that being in a long-term relationship, like a life partnership, is a losing battle. Like, most of what we hear is that, the best your relationship is going to be is at the beginning, the so-called honeymoon phase, and it's downhill from here. And the best you can hope for is, how do we slow that? Like, how do we? Our sex is going to be great in the beginning. Then it's inevitably going to be boring. How do we create the spark. Our love for each other is going to be amazing, and then we're going to be complaining and tired of each other. How do we like slow that? I don't believe any of that. Like that's the message we get from the world right now. And the only thing fighting in the other direction is this inner feeling we have that partnership is possible. We have a hunger for it. We have a desire to be with somebody and create something. So some inner knowing is telling us this has to be possible. And in the face of mostly with the society telling us this isn't going to work. And so it's that same source of like, there's got to be, I wouldn't have this desire if it wasn't possible. That's the same source from which you're going to actually craft this supposed idealistic relationship that I'm talking about, where it actually, the beginning is just a starting point. Like the happily ever after is like where you and Serenity are at now is hundreds of times better than it was at the beginning. So it actually is, the longer you stay together, the better it gets because you're building something amazing. So uh yeah, that's why I'm talking about you have to kind of unlearn a bunch of stuff to have a great relationship.
Yeah. It's harder now. Like it takes more intention. That the honeymoon period's very simple. It's very natural. You just kind of fall into it. You just fall into
Yeah.
each other. It's just very every day you're excited to see each other, and the sex you don't have to try very hard. It's just exciting and fun, and yeah, that sense of ease or naturalness goes away, and it becomes more work. Uh,
Mhm.
but I do see how if we do the work in the right way, we can talk about what work means. Um, but like if that it can get better, like our definitely our the things we fight about are so much more meaningful now, and
Yeah.
clearly what we've created in the world is light years more than what we were able to do together then. But even yes, the feeling of the relationship, the feeling of the sense of security and love and bond and the sex, all of it is definitely better.
And there's something that you're hinting at that I don't think I've ever talked about. Like that part of it is in the beginning, a relationship that feels amazing in the beginning, it's because you're actually living in a bubble of abundance in your lives. And this thing isn't battle tested. You have no idea what it's going to be like when times are hard. So that like it's built here, or it's the baseline is things are great, our lives are great. So of course it's easy to love, it's easy to just have all that surplus and generosity and appreciation. What happens when times are hard? So that's one thing where you have to figure that out. Then there's the opposite pattern where two people bonded because they were struggling, and this like somehow they were able to help each other out of a hole. Well, now you're out of the hole. Now you're actually feeling better. Let's say hypothetically, you had a breakup, you're in pain, or you're going through a depressive time, or someone passed away, or like hard times, or you're struggling. When now things are good, suddenly, do I need this person? I certainly don't need them to fill the role that they were filling before. We have to craft something new. So the reason I'm saying all this is I don't want it to just be, oh, it's easy in the beginning and hard later. What happens is the situation evolves, you evolve as human beings, and that's where now we have to actually work to create something in this new. I'm new, you're new, our situation is new. Who do we want to be for each other now?
Hmm.
That's a bigger, kind of more generalized version of where the work comes in.
Hmm. We don't have a lot of great models to prove your belief that we're meant to be together and that it gets better and better. I mean, our parents and grandparents' generation, uh, a lot of them stayed together, but they were not models of happiness. It's like sort of like, oh, that's what I'm looking forward to. And a lot of our parents
Agreed.
divorced. My parents divorced when I was 30 something. They probably should have divorced when I was younger. And so Serenity and I have it now after, call it 12 years, 14 years. Will we have it for 50 years? What has you believe that this is possible, that we can just get better?
I mean, first of all, I just want to acknowledge, because of everything you said, the act of saying, I actually want to be in a long-term relationship, and I want this person, I want to actually do life, not alone and not with superficial connections or, like friends with benefits that may come and go. I actually want to do life with somebody. I want this person to be my partner in life. That's a courageous act. It's a really courageous act because how opposite it runs. Um, and um, I think we're social beings and we crave connection. Like with babies whose needs are met in every way except human connection, they dysregulate, they get sick, and they die. Like
Mhm.
they get sick and die. We need connection, and um, we like being in partnership with another human being is believing in the idea that you can actually have connection that gets better over time. That's what's necessary, is your inner belief that if you stick with somebody rather than have superficial stuff, that you can actually have it get better over time. It's just pure belief against odds,
Hmm.
or you're feeling your inner feeling that's actually the case.
Yeah. And it takes will and courage for both people. They both have to be committed to that.
There might be times, like in my marriage, in my relationship, there have been times when one or the other of us, like it's not always me, it's not always her, but there have been times when we were fighting and one of us said, "Hey, I'm going in this direction. You're coming with me because I want you, and this direction is better for both of us. This is actually a better direction for both of us than what you're fighting for or you leaving." So one person can take the reins and take it in a direction, as long we haven't talked about this yet, but like selfish goals versus goals that actually serve the relationship, where you can look the person in the face and saying, what I'm advocating for here is going to be better for you, it's going to be better for us, it's going to be better for the relationship. And so that's another important distinction that I think we'll talk about. But sometimes it's one person. Often it's both people, but there has to be, you know, you have to know what's good for your partner, and in a way that they can recognize, right? You're not saying, I know it's better, good for you, but more than you know yourself. You've actually taken in everything that they say they want and take that into consideration, say, this is the best plan for both of us.
Yeah.
So it can be single-handed at times in the relationship. Mostly, yes, it's partner. Both of you need to be on board.
Hmm. Yeah, I had a divorced dad on the show talk about his divorce and his blended family he has now, and I asked him if he felt like him and his first wife were just incompatible. Like it just was a wrong relationship from the beginning, and it just probably should have never happened, and they needed a divorce, which I think is the narrative most people have. It's like, oh, we just weren't right for each other. And he said, in hindsight, no, like we were compatible. That's why we got together. We had a lot going for us, and we just didn't have the skills. Like we didn't know how to connect, to be with each other, how to deal with our own shadows and our own inner work, and we just weren't essentially mature enough to be in relationship. If they met again today, maybe it would have worked. And then of course now he is that, and he has that with his current wife, and that's why this current relationship works. But do you think that's the case? Like, are most people compatible and they just don't know how to relate, or some people, like, you meet them and you're like, you guys just should not be together. Like I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay, so I'm a relationship coach, so I'm going to admit upfront that my opinion is biased because of the work that I do. But I think most people walk around with a belief that 90% of the work is the search and the find. And once I find the person who's the right match, everything after that is solved. That everything after that is the happily ever after phase. And what I've noticed is that actually, I used to say it's 90% what you guys co-create together, and like you said, the skills you need, and 10% finding the right person. That was my, like, kind of exaggerated, but turns out that number is closer to the truth than what even I realized. So the studies that look at long-term relationships, they say in the long run, when you look back over the years and decades and the relationships that worked really well, about 14% of it was, yeah, I really found the right person. And the other 86% was what we did to create the thing that we have. And so that is where I put all of my attention. Couples come to me and the first thing, because they want to do work, is bring me your complaints about your partner. Tell me how they're not, tell me all your gripes and convince me that this isn't going to work. And they do. They give their long list of things that they think are unsolvable challenges, like these are the problems that we think are. We're certainly going to convince Ken Blackman that he's going to tell us we should break up. And then I say, now okay, like these are bad problems. Tell me why you love this person. Tell me why should I care? What do why are you choosing this person? Why are you coming to a relationship coach instead of bowing out? Then they tell me the I don't even want to say chemistry, but the deeper, like, soul to soul thing that brought them together. In contrast to all the ways that they are not a good match for each other, there's this thing that is drawing them together. And if that thing is there, I have faith and confidence about solving the incompatibilities. Like those are my territory. I'm not worried about that. If you don't have that core, like, luminous being to luminous being, as Yoda would say, like if that's there, there's a good chance we can make this work if you put in the time and the effort. If that's not there, it's going to be a hard road. So the opposite is couples who come to me and they say, all the check boxes match up. Like, this is the person I've been saying I wanted the whole time. Like, 90 check boxes, they all match up, and I can't figure out why I'm happy. That I can't solve.
Mhm.
I'm going to have a hard time solving that problem. So this is why I don't put a lot into compatibility. Give me two people who say they have chosen to be together and they want to make it work, and I can help with that. I can help it actually be great.
Yeah. I think for that 14%, I think chemistry, like a physical, sexual chemistry, is one of those things that I don't just have with anybody. That there are a select type of woman that I had that with. There's lots of those. It's not like that's a limited supply. It just was like, it's not any, you couldn't just put me with any woman and say we're going to be married just because we decide to be. So that chemistry, but and like you said, a lot of that's stronger in the beginning and might fade over time. But I think if you had it in the beginning, you can have it anytime. So those Serenity, I've gone in ups and downs of her being more turned off or me being more turned off. There are, when we activate the circumstances right, that's always back there, the chemistry is back there. And so the chemistry is there. And I think there's some fundamental lifestyle choices, wanting kids or not, maybe a certain amount of economic, do we want to, am I okay being really poor, or do I want to be really rich, or like, is there a money thing? Like, I feel like there's some kind of basic values there, but it's not a very long list. The Serenity and I are different in so many ways. I mean, we are opposite personalities. There's so few movies we like to watch together, so few hobbies we share. She's incredibly introverted. I'm incredibly extroverted. She likes to go to the spa and get massages all day. I want to water ski and snow ski and jump off of cliffs, and it's just complete opposite personalities. And of course, some of that is our strength, but we have to. But I hear a lot of men complain. Like my dad always complained that my mom didn't want to do the stuff he liked. She didn't want to go out on the boat. She didn't want to go snow skiing. She didn't want to hang out with his friends. And like that was like his biggest gripe. And of course,
Hmm.
he didn't want to do the things she wanted to do. He didn't want to watch movies. He didn't want to hang out on the couch. He didn't want to, relax or go to restaurants. My mom likes restaurants, and he never really liked that. And so this was like a big source of tension. And for us, we just solved that. Like she does her thing, I do my thing. We find enough crossover that we do together, and we do that, and that doesn't seem to really matter.
Yeah, there's so much in what you just said. There's so many jumping off points of the directions that I want to take it. But I guess where to start with that is, you have to. It's healthy for the relationship for you to have rich, full lives outside of the relationship. And I think one mistake that men can make is to try and source everything. Well, women do this too in a different way, but try and source all of their wants and needs from this one person, um, because maybe scarcity of like I don't have enough people in my life, or I don't have enough other, like, now that I've got you and we want to be together, you're all these, you have to be all these things. And the more you can actually have a rich, full life outside the relationship, uh, people who meet emotional needs, fun needs, social needs that your partner doesn't, that the better the relationship is going to be, the healthier the relationship is going to be, so that like the relationship can be the one thing, all the things that you can only get from that person that no one else can give you. It can be built around that.
Hmm. Yeah, so let's talk about parents then, because having life outside of the relationship, the family, is all that much harder for parents, and a lot of parents both get sucked into this. I'm working, and then I'm dealing with the kids, I'm dealing with the family, and when do we possibly even have time for each other, let alone outside? And so, what are some of the
Yes.
unique relationship challenges you've seen when couples have kids?
So I'll start by saying I'm not a parent, and I lucked out that I ended up with someone who also never aspired to be a parent. So we're happy, you know, parent, childless. Um, I think being a parent, deciding to bring a child into the world and raise them, is unique in all the things that you could do in your life. There's nothing as rewarding. There's nothing as challenging. Like it is, you are dedicating a big chunk of your life to the well-being of another human being, more so than your partner, because this person depends on you for their life. When a child is born, they need constant attention. And so there's nothing as challenging like the sleep deprivation in the first few months, and the attention that it requires, the patience that it requires, the money it requires, the time it requires, the energy it requires. There's nothing like it that you're ever going to do in your life. So if you're both dedicated at that level where this is the greatest thing we as a couple are ever going to do, like what's funny is if you don't have anything like that, if you don't have something like that, you're just in love and every day is a vacation, every day is a honeymoon. Uh, at some point that's going to get it's not going to have the same flavor. And so couples who've been doing this for a while will eventually do this and start to pick a shared thing to put their attention on. Could be a business like you guys did. If it's a child, boy, the partnership that's required, the dedication that's required, like it is, you're saying, we as a couple together are going to do the most challenging thing a human will ever do, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to be partnered, and that is where our attention is going to be. That's kind of what's required for it to go well. Because what happens is all so much of your attention is going there. It's so easy to say, "Hey, I'm not getting from you what I used to get, and I feel depleted because I was sourcing a lot of my juice and my energy and my well-being, like my emotional well-being from you, and you're now not as available." And the other person's saying the same thing. This thing we're doing is so challenging. I need you more than ever, and you're less available than ever. You got to know going in that that's going to happen, and uh, it's going to be a make or break in terms of how you guys have chosen to relate with each other and how you've chosen to partner together. If you're partnered, you can pull it off. Like if there's any breaks in where you kind of lone ranger or kind of become a selfish person or become like dependent on your partner, any of that is going to show up big time and be a major issue. Not unworkable, but those things are going to show up.
Mhm.
So it's a litmus test for your level of partnership.
And we did both. We started the business, put our attention on that, and we had the kid and put our attention on that. And we'll probably always have big projects like that, even after she grows up or the business finishes. We'll probably continue to do that. So how did we do it? How did we go from, the hands you're doing for anybody listening is like hands facing each other, like palms, we're attention to each other versus palms forward, like we're both looking forward. How did Serenity and I deal with the loss of the other's attention and help
Yeah.
there?
Well, let me ask you, because I, the easiest answer is you had a coach who was supporting you. But that doesn't answer the deeper question, because you guys were really worthy role models for how it can be done, because you did both of those things at the same time, and it was a challenge, it was a struggle, it wasn't easy, it was ridiculously hard, and you succeeded. So what do you think, what would you say you did to succeed in such a challenging environment that you volitionally created for yourselves? You not only jumped into it, you pulled it off.
I mean, for a long time of it, I just survived it. I knew on some level that it was right. The business was right. The baby was right. This partner was right. Like I didn't doubt that any of this was wrong. I should be doing something different. So I had that like belief. So it was a how, not if, at all points. Um, but the how for a long time was like numbness. And I've
Mm,
not really talked a lot before about my former marijuana addiction, but I feel like this conversation might be the time to talk about it because it was one of the it almost ended us. Like it was the closest we've come to divorce was around my need for marijuana. And I think that came because I was so empty and I was so depleted and this shift of like not having her love and attention. I got that from, marijuana instead. I got this sort of comforting thing that was reliable and would make me feel better no matter what. And of course she hated it. And so there was like this like jealousy thing of like her and marijuana, and she was very unpredictable and didn't have a lot for me. And marijuana was like very consistent and always there. So it was like a hard thing for me to be like, I'm going to choose this crazy woman over this like very reliable quote medicine, and it was very, very tough. And in the end, that is the choice I made and absolutely don't regret it. The best parts of our relationship and our business and our life have been since I got sober, since I decided to be fully in it and feel all of the stress and all of the pain and all of the fear and all that and let that be part of the connection. It's kind of like you said, people come together through struggle in the beginning. We kind of like moved into that mode of like, okay, we're going to struggle together. We're going to share each other's pain of parenting and running a business. And like, I wasn't feeling that with her for that first, call it 5 years of Della's life. Like I really was, numbing myself
Mm.
and
I
showing up, doing the work, but like, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I would totally agree that for you in particular, and this applies to so many people out there, that a lot of the work that like there's always going to be inner work, something I have to do within myself, and that just naturally brings around changes in how I interact with my partner and how I show up in the relationship. Like, what are those inner things? And for you, and I think a lot of people will relate with this, is your willingness to feel the feelings that are coming up and not run away from them, and the excruciating struggle of just saying, okay, what there is for me to do right now is to feel the sadness that I'm feeling, or to feel the anger that I'm feeling, or to feel this sense of hopelessness, like to slow down enough to actually feel those things all the way through. Because on the other side, rather than stuffing them in the basement and going numb, or just like saying those are inconveniences and they're in the way, to actually go through the whole process of feeling them, leaves you more empowered afterwards to actually show up differently and be able to address or solve or change some of the things that you don't think that you can. Like that process of feeling your feelings leaves you in better shape to actually do something about it if you can, or to
Hmm.
accept it if you can't.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's connecting. Connection is the human need you talked about and is the
Hmm.
goal of relationship. And I think there's a very deep relationship between connection and emotion. Connection ultimately is a emotional experience. It's a need, but it's experienced through that sense of love or safety or joy or comfort or whatever. But it can be accessed through pain, which is I think very confusing. Especially men were not taught how to feel, and feelings and emotion were very very limited. Women have more education, but not that much either. Like they're like also the tendency to blame others for our feelings is very huge. I think in both men and women, we've worked a lot on that. We're working on that right now, on how to have agency for our experience and not blame the other. Uh, but that because blame takes away the opportunity to connect. Like pain could be connecting unless I blame her for my pain, and now it's disconnecting. But it's not the pain that's disconnecting; it's the blame.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And to give an example of that, like with me and my wife, I mean, we tend to have intense conversations, or challenging, not intense like we're yelling at each other, but challenging, that a lot of conversations that would be too difficult for couples to have. Like they would shy away from it, or they would get knocked out by something, or like we stay in and have those conversations, often in ways that real skin in the game, like this conversation has the potential to end the relationship. Like we go there, like all we know is that it's worth the risk because we're at an impasse and this has to be talked through. We have to actually stay connected and talk all the way through to the other side, where now we're closer than we were. We understand each other better than we did. We actually got to a place of resolution, or whatever. But there are moments in that process where I didn't have the answer. I felt stuck, like, oh, like I don't know how we're going to get from here to resolution where we can stay together. And my wife was like, yeah, I don't know either. And that's an important moment that relates to what you're talking about, because in that moment, I feel hopeless right now. I do too. I don't know how we're gonna how how the hell are we gonna solve, like, how do we get from here to being our loving, happy, partnered selves? I don't know. And in that moment, we just be there together. We don't disconnect. we're we're in that hopeless place together. There's a connectedness that we're dedicated to, and yeah, we're connected in that moment. And I don't know what the answer is. I just know that if we stay connected, we'll get to something, and what we'll know what the best thing is, even if it's breaking up. And because we stay connected in those moments, at least up till now, it's been better. And like every year, our relationship is. We can look back and say, I think this was the best year we've had. I think this is where the closest we've ever been. I think like it just that's how we got to better and better and better, is to have those conversations and not leave them. Stay connected, get all the way to resolution.
Well, and having a third party to facilitate that has been so huge, whether it's someone as powerful and competent as you, or a therapist or a friend, like somebody to help navigate these things. I actually wrote it down maybe 20 years ago on a list of like relationship truths that I determined, which was, if you have the same fight about the same thing more than twice, it's time to get a third party's opinion. It's time to bring in help. You're clearly not
Mm,
solving it
right.
yourself. So don't just have the same, because my parents fought about the same three things their entire relationship. And like Serenity and I don't, at this point, if we have two fights or, multiple fights, we could bring it to you and we solve it. Most of the time it's solved forever. Occasionally, it's a longer one and there's many, many layers, but we make progress at least.
I love that. I love that rule. I'm sure we've talked about it. I don't remember us talking about it, and I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time, and I love that rule. I highly because if you keep arguing about the same thing and getting to the same conclusion, you're actually creating a rut that you're now falling into. Like it's harder and harder. But I also want to say like my I want to speak to this because my goal is, and you guys have done this more and more, whatever I did to help you get to solution, the most important thing is how it happened and how can you guys learn to do it without me. Like always, always, always. Like not only like the reason we have focused so long on problems, and we still actually go and find a problem to talk about, so that you can practice the skill of relating in a way that you have problem solving skills, and that you can walk away from. You walk away like you know
Mm-hmm.
you I that's actually the bigger win, is how you're growing and how you relate with each other differently over time as a result of the work we're doing together.
Yeah, I wanna use the weed situation as an example here, because I have a memory of it. You were there through the whole arc of it. So I'd love to hear from your side what you remember is how we resolved that. But ultimately, I believed I needed it as medicine because I'm autistic and because the world is too much and I feel too much. So I have all this stuff going on and I have a highly unpredictable emotional partner and little toddler. We're running a business, and it was just the thing that I needed to regulate my system. And I believed that it didn't really impact the relationship. I couldn't find any evidence other than that Serenity just didn't like it, to say that I wasn't like missing, right. I wasn't sacrificing my chores. I wasn't not showing up at work. I wasn't losing money. I wasn't, like there was no practical impact it had, other than she really didn't like it, and she had some past trauma around drugs that made it worse for her. And so I wrote that off as like, you just have your own trauma. You just need to heal your trauma and get over this, because this is not actually a problem. Only your belief about it is the problem. And I'm not going to take away an important medicine for me because you just have some issue with it. And if you're willing to leave the relationship because you can't heal your trauma, like that would be sad, but like I can't change myself for you in that way. Like it was too, that was the impasse we were at. And she was just like, I'm just getting triggered over and over. All these things, don't ask, don't tell. I tried to hide it from her. We tried, she would ask that I hide it from her. And eventually I would, somehow she would find out about it, or I would get sloppy. And I kept I think I didn't really believe she would ever really leave. I think I did think that she would eventually just like sort of get over it is what I hoped for.
Hmm.
And that she would decide, but it did get to a point where it was impossible for her and she was going to leave because she's like, I can't keep getting triggered over and over. And I've done everything I think I can to heal it. And you clearly won't do it. And you were there for that whole thing. And then when it came down to it, I had to admit that I could not argue that I was sober with it, that it was truly a medicine that I was using in my own volitional way, that it had no power over me, that I was fully capable. And when I looked at the evidence, so why couldn't I keep our agreements around keeping it away from her if that was the case? Why did I keep saying I know I shouldn't do it every day, and I would go on periods where I'd do it every other day or every 3 days, and then it'd suddenly be every day again, and then multiple times a day. Like, clearly there's some addictive patterns here, and I'd known enough about 12-step and addiction to know what that looked like, and had to accept that it was it was not healthy for me in the end, that it wasn't this medicine. It was actually a drug, and it was interfering with my relationship with myself and thus with her. And got sober, and relationship's been better ever since. But you coached us through all that. So how did we come to that? How did we come so close to the brink? And how, what is your memory of how we avoided that disaster?
I love this example because you mentioned earlier how much has become available since you stopped using. Number one, and number two, that moment when you realized and you had to admit, oh no, actually I can see the addictive patterns, not the healthy medicinal pattern. Like I can see. But I want to talk about something that happened before that that's crucial, which is that, like you said, you were arguing with her and you couldn't see things that she was pointing out. Some of it was out, like there was enough that you could point to concretely and say, this is her stuff around her struggle with drugs. There was enough of that there for you to use it to kind of discount anything that she was saying that also was true. So that was the stuck place. And something happened that was the turning point of everything, which is that at some point you decided, like she was putting pressure on you, threatening, like it was heading towards a bad result for the relationship, right? Like she was like unilaterally making decisions that could lead to the end of the relationship as a result. So you had pressure on you to do something. But what you did was you said, the fact that it's this important to her is enough for me to at least look at it. Like just the fact that it's this important to her, I'm going to make that important enough that I'm at least going to look at it. And I think there are times in relationships where two people are arguing and like I listen to them, I can see both their points of view because that's my job. It's what I'm doing. But I can see them not hearing each other, not hearing each other, not hearing each other. They both have valid points, but neither is hearing the other person's valid points. And at some point, one of them says, okay, I think they're crazy. I think they're irrational. I think they're flat out wrong, factually wrong. But the fact that it bothers them this much and it's this important to them, I'm going to make that be enough for me to consider something else and not be dug in.
I don't think it was that altruistic because that was the case for years. I mean, there's 8 years of this was important to her and I continued to not care. So, or at least not be willing to change. And so like, I think it was, she had to make it important to her enough that she was going to leave. So I was probably more, she's important enough to me that if I really am having to choose between her or marijuana, could I really live with that choice? I came up with a lot of justifications. Well, I'm not choosing marijuana. I'm choosing my own freedom and her healing and blah, blah, blah. But like fundamentally in a practical level, like, is my life going to be better with her and no weed, or is it going to be better without her and weed? And like the fact that that was actually a debate was kind of concerning to me, that was like, I could actually make a case that marijuana is better than her, was like, whoa, this shit has a hold on me. And so, I decided to try it. And it was about 2 months in that when I was probably really starting to suffer. For a while it was novel. I'm off weed. I'm good. I'd gone off it for a month or two periodically. But, like, about 2 months in when I was like, "Wait, I'm never gonna do this again. This is really gone. This is a never kinda thing. This isn't just a break." When I went to a healing ceremony, and the message that kept coming in again and again was like, how important feelings are. Feelings are life. To live is to feel. To be your true self is to feel. Real leaders are the ones who feel the most. All this message over and over again about how important feelings are, and that's where I had, like, the turning point was like, oh, like, this medicine, I was medicating away from feeling. Like, I just had this belief that there was too much feeling in the world for me, and I needed to turn down the volume to survive. And instead, it's like, no, like, I have a huge capacity to feel. Like, that's a strength, that's an asset. I shouldn't be numbing it. I should be building the skill to learn that, feel that, have that more. And that's when it really became for me, not for her or even the relationship. But like, this is something I need to do. If she were to leave tomorrow, I'd still be doing this. Like, I'm not sober for her, I'm sober for myself. And she was the catalyst to get me there. I think she did what you're saying. She led the family in the place that was best for all of us. She's saying, this is not good for our family. We need to lead a sober path. And of course, I was really against it. But like, I did come around to seeing it, and she was right.
And I think the priority change, the priority shift, the things you looked at and you said, "Oh, wait, where are my priorities here?" is what kept you from making this decision in a way that would leave you resentful towards her forever and ever and ever and ever, which is what some people do. Like, they choose the partner, but they keep a story that their arm got twisted and they never fully recover, and that little bit of resentment about having been made to do something kills the
I
like.
refused to do that. That's probably what took 8 years. Was I absolutely refused to. I saw my parents sacrifice stuff for the other and just be resentful about it, and it eventually led to the end of their marriage. And so I was not going to do that. I was not going to give it up for her. I was willing to go to great lengths to hide it from her, which was hard
Mhm.
enough, and there was resentment there already. But like, to give it up entirely for her, I just knew it would eat away at me. And and she was prepared for me to do that, but she probably knew that it would too. So I had to eventually find that place of why this is for me. And it wouldn't have worked if I'd done that. I would have just found something else to repress my feelings with.
Yeah. And this is a topic that we talk about often in our coaching, in our sessions with the three of us, which is, I hear one of you say yes to something, and I'm like, uh, I I'm glad that you got to a yes around it. Are you telling us that you're a yes and you're agreeing that you won't be resentful about it later? And often that's like a second step, like, you know, oh, I can say yes to it, but am I also saying yes to agreeing that I'm not going to be resentful about it in the future? That's a bigger ask, and let me feel into it and see if I can get there.
Mm-hmm. Or believing that the resentment won't come. I mean, it's interesting. Frame resentment as a choice there, agreeing I'm not going to choose to be resentful versus like, is this going to make me resentful?
But
you
yeah,
know,
it's useful to treat it as a choice. It's as big a choice as the decision to do the thing that your partner wants. The second decision point is, if I think that I'm going to be resentful later, then I'm not at my full yes yet, and I'm actually at a danger point. But I can decide never, like, I made this choice. I decided that I was going to say yes to it. I'm not going to allow myself the wiggle room to retroactively be mad at her, or resentful at her for having made me do it. That that is where you have agency and where you have power, and where you have boundaries, and you're in partnership with your partner, rather than, being told what to do and being angry and resentful and unhappy in a situation you co-created.
yeah, I'm choosing to agree to the decision now, and I'm committing to in the future choosing to remember that I agreed and that it's my agency She didn't make me do anything, and, that I'm not gonna let myself be resentful, take that
Yeah.
out on her.
I'm gonna own the choice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what men, we have a lot of dads, men listeners here, what the specific thing men can do in relationships. But we'll just start with me. What am I working on right now? Like, what can I do better in my relationship today?
I mean, I'm so impressed with you. I want to first acknowledge what you are doing right now, kind of volitionally, that I think is making the relationship so amazing, which is that after years and years of work, we have a conversation with the three of us. And Serenity has done so much work, and she's got more love for you than she's ever had. She's got more abundance for you, more like empathetic desire for you to have things you want, like things, like she's on your side to have you have what you want more than she's ever been in the past. And then there's places where she hits a wall and she says, we ask you ask her for something that seems reasonable and she's like a no. And so you hit that wall. And what you're doing now more than ever is you say, okay, we have reached her limit. I'm not going to shake my fist at the fact that she's saying no to this, even though I think it's a reasonable ask. I'm not going to like judge it. I'm simply going to accept that she hit her wall, that she's doing her work, that she's doing the best she can. Someday this wall might move later, but I'm going to get into acceptance with the fact that this wall is here, and I'm going to do what I can to close the gap to um, see if I can do for myself the things I wanted her to do, to see if I can reframe this in a way that has it be right for me, to do like you do so much inner work when you hit her wall, to have it continue to be good. I want to acknowledge you for that. As to what you're working on, you have two modes. One is, okay, we're crafting something that works for both of us. I, Joe, need a formula I can follow. I need very clear, tell me the words I'm supposed to use in this situation. Tell me
Hmm.
the simple, and if it's too complicated, I won't be able to do it. Like it has to be super simple. I need the words, I need the formula, I need the algorithm. That's one mode. Another mode you have is we're in the realm of feelings, and I treat that as a different realm in some ways. Like if she says, if she gives me her reasons, I'm going to argue with the reasons. If she says because of how it feels, I accept that. I take that. Like it's a different mode. So I think something you're working on is being able to have more flexibility and spontaneity and being able to figure out what to do in situations where you're emotionally charged. When you're emotionally charged is when you need the instruction manual, because your thinking is a struggle. And I think you're working on more flexibility, more being like when you're in flow, you're in flow. You can do whatever you want, and to keep that ability to be in flow when things happen that are very emotionally charged for you. That's what I would say your current hurdle is.
Hmm. Yeah, they both are related to operating with her from feelings, with feelings, as a feelings being an interaction. With the
Yeah, yeah.
formula, I want to know if I say these words, it'll have this result every time. And and like I said, it can't be very complicated. It has to be a fairly simple script. And then rather than no, you have to like feel in the moment what the right words are. Like the situation just requires more attention. It doesn't require a script. It requires a turning up of your attention and intention, and almost exactly the same with the other one. If she's trying to make a logical argument, and I'll argue with her logically, and then we end up in a fight, and I'm like, "What? Why are you fighting? You brought this debate to me. We're debating. Why are we angry?" And if she had just said from the beginning, "I have a feeling we shouldn't do this," I would have been like, "Okay, let's not do it." And so if I could just remember that her logic always has feeling, like she's always on some level saying, I have a feeling we shouldn't do this. Here's what my brain is telling me to justify that. But like, there might be a feeling here. There isn't always. Sometimes it's just our brain. But if I could learn to just like from the beginning be like, okay, are we are you telling me you have an intuition and we should just follow that, or are you saying you really want to hash this out because you're not sure? In which case, I'll debate all day long. But I want to be clear. If you've already made up your mind, I support you. I believe your her intuition, her feelings are pretty much always right. So if she says that, I'll like just I might ask a few questions, but it's a very different conversation than if she's saying, I think logically we should do this. I'm like, well, no, that makes no sense because of this.
Yeah.
And last thing you
And
want to do
I
is tell a woman her intuition doesn't make sense. That's where we end up in conflict. Like, well, you just told me it was your
right.
intuition. I wouldn't argue with
Yeah.
you. But
Yeah.
I think some men don't even get there to realize that when a woman is sure about something, don't argue with her. Like she's probably right.
Yeah. And I would say also like um we have a tendency to say you're being irrational and think that we won the argument when actually we literally just took a dump on the reason that we're in the relationship in the first place. The reason we're in the relationship, what draws us into the relationship is a feeling we want to have. Like everything else we can experience on our own. We can I love surfing. I love eating good food. I could have a rich full life by myself. No, the reason I want to be in a relationship is for how it feels, for a feeling that I have, that feeling of connection. And so when you say emotions or feelings are in the way, as we men sometimes tend to do, is no, I'm all about productivity, I'm all about, and kind of ignoring how things feel. We're ignoring the reason we have the relationship is for how it feels, and so that has to have it can be irrational, and it still has to have high priority because it's the purpose. And as we get more in touch with our own feelings, we start to realize, oh no, this is actually important. Like we can't we can't get into a fight that I win and then we did the day went the way I wanted it to. I wanted this and this and this to happen. We got into a huge fight. No, you've missed the whole point. Like how it feels is actually more important than those things. Because that's the reason we're in the relationship.
It's rational to want to feel good and to pursue feeling of connection. But feelings themselves are by nature irrational. Like what makes me feel one thing one day might make me feel a completely different thing the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's not irrational. So yeah, so feelings in themselves cannot be explained, and when women tend to operate from feeling in a little more uh, innate or dramatic way than I think men are allowed to or taught to. Um, I don't know what's natural, what's unnatural, but at least conditioning wise, women tend to be more feeling beings, even when they're engaged in rational debate, a seemingly rational debate. And that's what I have to try and that you're saying I'm working on with her is remembering that she's always a feelings being. She doesn't turn on, oh, now I'm in my intuition being, and now I'm in my rational being, and which one am I interacting with? Like she's always both on some level.
Yeah. And
And so am I ultimately if I let myself be.
right, exactly. Like I think in the arena of intimate relationship, some part of us as men knows that she's better at certain things than we are, and we kind of outsource that to her, and that's actually not great. Like the relationship and what we want to be experiencing becomes so much more available if we start to learn some of the skills that she has, like start to get better at some of the things that we just assume is her job. If we start to get better at that, all of a sudden the relationship gets so much better for us. And so that's often a direction I'm pointing men is she's not crazy. She's actually really good at something, and you're A, leaving it to be her job when she actually wants you to partner, and B, she doesn't have to be mysterious. You are also an emotional being. You also are an irrational being. You might deny it and say you're rational, but you're not. You're an emotional being. And the more you are conscious of that, the better player you'll be in this arena, a co-creator in this arena.
Yeah, having kids is not a rational thing to do. Like, doesn't really. There's not a lot of argument. Oh, they're gonna pay for my retirement someday. Like, not real. That's not really the logical reason to have kids. So, like, if you're a dad, you decide to have kids, you're obviously an emotional being because that's an emotional choice to take this life and then have the feeling of having the kid and the pride of the kid, the lifetime of joy of their successes. I mean, that's why we have kids. It's also why we have relationships. Like we don't date women because it makes sense. Oh, we get a tax break if we're married.
Yeah.
Like that's that's not there's not
Yeah.
really. So yeah. So as we wrap up here for men, I know there's no formula. But if there's a simple thing, if there's one thing a man could do today, whether it's a question he could ask or a thing resource he could pursue, like one thing a man could do today to make his relationship better.
I have to list two. Can
Okay.
I?
Yes.
They're short. The first is notice all of your supposed tos that you have for yourself and for her. All the supposed tos. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And question it. Allow it to be not necessarily the case. You get to say, this is what I'd like you to do, but you're partnered with this person. It's not like you can't tell them what they're supposed to be doing, and they can't tell you what you're
The
supposed to be.
supposed
Like
to's
it,
for her. So like all the things I think she's supposed to do as my
and you
wife
get
or my baby mom.
yeah, and you get to push back on her supposed to's as well. Like all the things she says because you're the man or because you're my partner. No, like you can push back on that and say, no, actually, we're going to co-create this thing. So that's the first one. The second one's related to that, which is where we tend to Lone Ranger and start to think my needs aren't getting met. I have a desire, like every decision that affects them, you guys need to decide together. So you might go down to the foundations and start to create. So you have to do it together because your partner is never going to argue with you about something you created together. So the more you create the thing together, in short, catch the places where you're Lone Rangering by talking about how you have to compromise in order to, or your needs are, no, it's actually, let's figure out for the both of us what's best.
Yeah, it's great. Awesome. Well, thanks, Ken. Thanks again for all your service. Where can people learn more about your work or get a session with you?
Um, Reach out to me. Oh, I'm going to send you to my blog. Ken Blackman. It's kenblackman.medium.com. Just scan through the list of topics, pick an article that you like, and see if it vibes with you. At the bottom, there's a way to contact me, and you can go from there.
Cool. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. And yeah, any other resources you like, books or podcasts or blogs or stuff that you think are good for dads?
My top of the list is Brene Brown,
Mm,
because
yeah.
Brene Brown talks about emotions in a way that men as well as women can hear, and I think her stuff is fantastic for men in particular who might be at the beginning of their journey of getting in touch with their emotional self.
Yeah, that's great. And Esther Perel, you said was good as well.
Esther
So
Perel, yeah.
yeah, that's nice. Awesome. Well, really appreciate this, you taking the time here and everything you've done for our relationship. Excited to see what we do next, what the next height we can come to.
So happy you brought me on, and great conversation.
Yeah,
So thank
appreciate
you.
it. All right. All right, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube helps me a lot. Reach other dads. Drop in the comments one way you'd like your relationship to be better, and share this with other dads in your life. And stay dedicated.